is Katharina Koch, and together with Julia Nitschke, I'm artistic director of the Berlin-based feminist art space Alpha Nova and Galerie Futura, which is the host of this event. And only briefly about Alpha Nova and Galerie Futura for those who do not know our space. We are a space for exhibitions and cultural events, which promotes the interaction of artistic, theoretical and political practices with an explicit emancipatory and feminist perspective. We realize up to 5 thematic-based solo and group exhibitions per year, as well as performances, lectures, discussions, workshops, film presentations or other presentations in physical space whenever possible, but since Corona also digitally. But however, this digital format often fits conceptually also, and especially also for our thematic series that today's event is part of. And Sylvia, I turn over to Sylvia now, who will say a few words about this thematic series in which it takes place today, and who will introduce Julia, of course.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Sylvia, and I'm also happy to welcome you, Julia Nitschke, and everybody else. I'm in the gallery, actually, like in the physical space, and I'm also joining this event in the digital space from the gallery. And behind, you can see like a show by Magda Kosinski Aufbegehren that is on view now until January 14th. But today's event is part of, as Katharina said, of our event series called Digital Feminist Present Futures. And this is a series that since December 2019 has been dedicated to the feminist exploration of the internet at the interface of technology, art, and activism. By exploring the entanglements of digital and analog forms of knowledge production. And within the series, in on and offline lectures and workshops and performances, we want to create a platform for the production of new ideas of contemporary feminist digital culture. And former events include most recently workshops by Mary Magic and Melt, aka Lauren Britton and Isabel Pear. And the next event, just like for your save the date, will be a video screening and talk with Charlotte Eifler, among others, about her project Feminism is a Browser on January 26th. But today, or for now, I'm more than happy to welcome Julia Nitschke. And I think maybe some people still have their microphone on, so maybe they could just turn it off, because I mean, not you, Julia, but I think like people from the audience, because otherwise it's just great. So I'm really happy to welcome Julia Nitschke, who is in Bochum right now, and where she lives and works as a performance and mixed media artist. And Julia is part of Stonekollektiv and is constantly working on their performance series Labern, übers eigene Land. And as part of Ruhr Dings 2019 and memory stations at ADKDW, she conceived the exhibition Emanzen-Express, Gemeinsam sind wir gemeiner, about feminist struggles and resistance in Bochum, together with Eva Busch. And most recently, her works deal with her Polish-German family heritage. And I'm very curious to learn more about the internet and why we all should have a favorite cat gif, I guess. The floor is yours, Julia.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation, Silvia and Katharina. I'm very happy to be here, and also very happy that all of you are here and share the time and space with me tonight. And I also invited you to bring your own favorite cat gifs, as you are going to see my favorite cat gifs. And there will be time and space after the lecture for this. And if you don't have any gifts, don't worry, it's also not bad. So hello and welcome to my lecture performance, People Suck, but it's okay because cats. Why it's pretty much obvious to live riot and not diet. My name is Julia Nitschke, and I am a scenic researcher from Bochum, and I worked there for more than almost like, I don't know, 4 years or even more at the Institute for Theatre Studies at the Ruhr University. And since 2013, so you could also say more than a decade, I have been dealing with the phenomena of our contemporary culture and researching the large field of cats as a viral phenomena on the internet, or how it is possible to to break this complex topic down to a secret of success of cats on the internet, and which in turn is very interesting and extremely recommendable for one's own artistic practice. Yeah, since I can provide such a high expertise in the field of cat videos, it is possible for me to explain, what shall I say, very much. I can explain every phenomena or even every political imbalance on the basis of cat video. And I can very probably also offer solutions to it. Main focus, and always the same, is my attitude, namely that we humans, we can learn from the cats on the internet. But why? Here a small test. Every internet cat has more popularity and fame than a human being who is present here today, I would say. And most certainly, none of us has even come close to such a high range and so much attention as an internet cat. Follow and spread their message further. So altogether, ingredients and characteristics which are very important and essential for resistance, resilience, riots, and social analysis. And furthermore, humor as resistance also plays a very big role here, but also a form of care, to take care of oneself, to create pauses through humor, moments of relief, and so on. In other words, despite or because of activism, to pay attention to oneself and one's health, i.e. to remain able to act despite a feeling of powerlessness. So this cat lecture always starts with the success secret of the cats and how artists can learn from it. And I, as a woman who is publicly thinking about how she can earn more money, I am already the first step of being my own Riot. And when we get to the analysis now, we realize that we are dealing with two extremely large fields of research: internet and cat. And there is one important indicator to consider in the field of internet research. The internet is extremely fast-moving and participatory medium, which means that knowledge gained can be obsolete within the next half hour or even minute. And therefore, it is my duty and burden to expose myself again and again to the very latest cat phenomena on the internet. Yeah, but before we approach the main thesis of this evening, I would like to give you a short introduction to my recent cat internet related research so far. And in short, since September 2014, this lecture carries following title: People Suck, but it's okay because cats. And the picture we see in the background wasn't painted by me, but I found it first on the internet after a very targeted search. For this, I used the search engine that is used by most people worldwide, which again has very plausible criteria according to which search results are displayed according to their popularity, which in turn expresses itself in how often a picture has been shared, clicked, commented, and called up on the internet. So all indicators that elevate this picture to a research relevant object. Yeah, and I mean, it's obvious why apparently a majority of the internet can identify with this picture, or why it is intensively dealt with it and has already dealt with this picture. Of course, the picture shows a cat. That is always a good reason to look at pictures. But beyond that, this is an extremely radical thesis with which people can identify, if you ask me. The question arises, why is such a negatively connotated thesis of a very large majority of people assumed to have a functioning brain? I mean, why should such a statement ever be accepted? Yeah, a very simple and grammatically incorrect solution follows, because cats. So what we see here is that the hoped answer is finally is simple instead of complex. And it requires 2 words instead of 3 pages. And grammar doesn't play too big a role either. So the content is in the foreground. But what does it actually mean? I mean, people suck means translated as much as people suck. At this point, we could also try to translate people a little bit more freely as humanity, maybe. And when we talk about humanity, we are actually talking about the world, I guess. So there it is, the world is shit, but it's okay. That's what's written there. And so in summary, it means the world is shit, but it's okay because cats. And I mean, that's an extremely radical thesis. And of course, it suggests that an extremization of the internet, so delicate matter, slightly unpleasant too, to be honest, because that somehow means that it's positively influenced by the cats. Yeah, but luckily we do not have to deal with this any further because cats. And instead, we can deal with the unchallenged recipe for success of cats and to what extent people who work artistically can profit from it or can use the secret of success for themselves. Or at least finally overcome gender pay gap, or how women could manage to earn money mathematically even more March 18th of each year. I myself, I come from the field of performing arts, for example, theater, and there all humans do not earn money until March 18th, but women or any other gender like trans, agender, or interpersons, they most likely do not earn money until May. And however, yeah, the theater is characterized by the fact that it is a world of its own. And yeah, it has many rules and many structures. Nevertheless, this place is also always regarded as a place of utopia. In other words, all our fantasies of almighty power and world improvement cannot be realized anywhere so adequately except at or in the theater, where such measures can be accomplished within 90 minutes. It belongs to the good tone to associate between the greatest possible contrast, to destroy categories, to soften boundaries, or even to cross them, is already part of the good tone. And yet, paradoxically, all this is based on rules and a system. And the most important rule is the following. Never, and by never, I mean really never, never ever, and under no circumstances, ever stand on stage with a child or an animal, because they will always, and I can confirm this completely, they will always steal focus. And as a person standing on stage, you are naturally dependent on having focus. So whoever who come from the field of theater, consider breaking rules to be positive and serious attribute of character. And that's why I try to approach and soften this previously introduced rule and try to appropriate it to me. From a research perspective, I am interested in what factors play a role here. Because from a positive perspective, this is of course an unbeatable combination of costs and benefits. Because what's in this rule is, no matter how long a theater play has dealt with realization, no matter how much theory has been packed in a maximum of 90 minutes, as soon as a child or an animal, no matter in which form, only appear on stage, up to 99.7% of the audience mainly talk about both indicators mentioned above at the end. So it's not even necessary that both of them do anything, because from the beginning attributed a high authenticity factor, which, as we all know, and will always be one of the most important topics in all areas of arts, authenticity. Now, to return to my personal research topic, in order to achieve meaningful, reliable, and universally valid results, it is important to limit the research area. And as an attentive audience, you will have noticed that I have decided for the animal part here, and here even more precisely for the cat. There were several factors that were significant for this choice. On the one hand, it's the duration of their popularity. Since the beginning of the internet, cats have been evidently the most popular animal. In addition, only research funds are available for cat content studies on the internet and their effects. And by the time we talk about research funds, it is clear that cat content is also relevant according to the standards of our neoliberal world, because there is research money. For example, a major of 2015 research report by Jessica Gale Myrick in the journal Computers in Human Behavior. Her research is called Emotion Regulation, Procrastination, and Watching Cat Videos Online. Who watches internet cats, why, and to what effect? I can really highly recommend this report. And I really don't want to deny the popularity of other animal videos, because there are always times when there is comparatively high popularity for foxes, owls, dogs, or any other animal. But but it's only a phase. And if we look around in the present, we also see in a nutshell that feminist struggles in particular are currently attracting people onto the streets, such as the so-called Women's March after the appointment of the past president of the USA, or the Czarny protest, so the Black protest in Poland, or the women's referendum in Austria, or the current or the last women marches in Hong Kong, just to name a few events. And so similar to the internet, years of feminist resistance are now showing their effects. And there is still a lot to fight, but there is also a lot of visibility, reach, and so on in real life, which is probably contemporary indicators of a movement's success. It is not just by chance that I would like to build a bridge to cats here. On the one hand, not unusual was the historical comparison to the burning witches in the past made again and again during the Black protest and every other demonstration, and whose loyal companions have witches among others? Right, a black cat. And also cats are lovingly named not only by chance in German as well as in English pussy or mushy. So there has always been a connection, subconsciously or consciously, visually as well as linguistically. Here the moment has also come to draw attention to the fact that when we talk about cats, we talk and think about cats in the female form. Because, for example, let's call it the generic feminine. So males are included. The English translation of tomcat or male cat is also never or super rarely used. So other important indicators which speak for the cat are the fact that that the cat is on the so-called internet above all its fame. So the internet as such is, of course, a very interesting medium for people who work artistically, among other things, in the theater. Because the internet has a high number of visitors, mostly mixed internationally too, both factors which probably all artists want in principle, And from the point of view of the audience, less from the artist's point of view, the internet is participatory, which means that it's possible to comment, to like, and to spread. Looking at art history, it becomes clear that nowhere are pictures so frequently shown as on screens on the internet, as in museums or theaters. So this opens up a new perspective for art historians. The art historian Wolfgang Ulrich is not afraid to ask how the way we deal with pictorial works is changing, which means that digitalization is constantly changing. Above all, however, it means an extreme range, an exaggeratedly fast and worldwide distribution of pictures, which in comparison will only be present in the viewer for a short period of time. These are ways of dealing with images that at first seem unfamiliar to art history, since in art history, images are understood as works of art that have a claim to permanence and interpretability. So Ulrich notes that images in all social media are part of our everyday communication. In other words, images are increasingly the second generally used medium of our communication alongside language. By pictures, I mean all kind of, I don't know, telegram stickers, GIFs, emojis, memes, you name it. In his opinion, we can also present the value of the terminology with the status of idioms in our language. Memes, GIFs, and stickers are varied, reformulated, recombined, and used in new situations. Yeah, they become picture turns. In general, this leads to the fact that many things are fed from a rather stable pool of image patterns. These are always taken up newly and varied, sometimes more strongly, sometimes less strongly. As a basis, known image patterns are indispensable as their meaning is widely known. Thus, depending on chosen variation, they can be specifically and concisely adapted to the individual communication situation. So if we look at the reason why certain memes are shared virally, for example, become popular very quickly, the number one success strategy is that they are pictures with a certain sense of humor or surprising twists. And many of the memes shown here come from the canon of art history. So, in other words, the internet in return draws its attention from the almost magically seductive possibility of communication. And of course, memes, GIFs, and videos, and so on and so forth are just another form of communication. So we can assume that cats also hijack any of other countless communication channels on the internet. And while we are on the subject of memes, I would like to open with the following comparison, the political strategy of the manifesto. It's an extremely great strategy, and which also changed historically and has ended up in art. And it came from politics and is now also located in art. So we are approaching this phenomena if we take a historically interested look to the history of the last 200 years. We do not even rarely come across events associated with the word manifesto, because manifestos are reliably to be found on historically explosive times. So when it comes to social revolution, criminal war, or the extermination of mankind. In this sense, it is clear for now that we are dealing here with a time of social movement, political conflict, and unstable conditions. Because according to Johanna Klatt and Robert Lorenz, exactly such times are the preferred peak time for manifestos to emerge. So let us now come to the critical point, how to be successful as an artist. Yeah, it is worth to think about dedicating yourself completely to cats in terms of content, and rather to focus on finding and occupying a phenomena that is negotiated virally on the internet beforehand and will receive an additional boost through the addition of cats. These series in the social media would then again come extremely close to an oeuvre, because one thing can already be established now: for every spleen, for every fashion, every problem, there is audience, and this audience will decline the respective topic on as many examples as possible. Or to combine it in the second step with other successful areas in our lives. And I mean, one of the most stupid sales rules that I can think of first would actually be a sentence like sex sells or something like this. And to everyone's regret, this has been tried too many centuries, but unfortunately, it is still a false assumption that we are surrounded by a lot of sex in our society. We are surrounded by a lot of nudity and porn and breasts and posters and toys and so on. But this is very important. This is not sex. That is pictured there. It is more a vague promise of a possibility that has very little to do with actual sex. So the other side is faced with a very great uncertainty. And if you ask women what they want or what they are into, they will be scared because nobody asked them that before, and it seemed irrelevant. After all women's magazines, such as sex guides, are aimed to generating only the desire in men. So generally speaking, we are also confronted with the fact that these magazines are still into the binarity of genders and have not found out about the variety of genders. And in addition, the above mentioned study named the high cuteness factor as success indicator #1 of cats, or children or animal images, which is very likely to be present in the research object. This is to be proven by different reactions by humans as soon as they meet children or animals, or even only cat illustrations. In the internet, so in most cases, something changes in you. The pitch changes, the voice becomes basically a little bit higher. It is a tendency to create new words. Often it is also sounds, it's only sounds instead of words. Yeah, so in short, people get in an ecstasy-like state, and this state of ecstasy is comparable to a moment of happiness. And that, dear audience, is wonderful, because although the world is shitty, human beings are still capable of falling into a rush of happiness. And this is good news. And thanks to the widespread technology in the form of smartphone owners are also able to record these moments of happiness very intuitively, document them and share them with the internet community. So these were already 5 prominent factors that speak for the success of cats. And the 6th extremely important factor is that the cats are incredibly funny. Reactions of most different humans to common cat found footage shows laughter at first, physical reaction in different expressions: smile, giggle, laugh, and a strongest expression from howl before laughter. So here we encounter the most important resistance of cats: humor. The secret of their humor is explained relatively simple in comparison to the strong expressions of our reactions. We recognize above all human behavior in cats, and that although it biologically speaking, there are no similarities, but paradoxically, humans have finally become funny through the transformation of the medium of the cat. Now, I have been doing this research for about a decade now, and I have to admit that certain connections are slowly becoming very obvious. And if we summarize all the previously mentioned indicators and try to apply them to us humans, it is not impossible to establish such a connections. But here we see successful people who have found their success in a cat doodle, because not only the human behavior is copied by cats, but also unmistakable externalities. The high number of examples raises the questions whether not all successful people have their origin in a cat. And if we are already in the process of dealing with outward appearances, the point has come to us about the current now unrestrained beauty mania to deal. And because this is a scientific work, unrestrained beauty, I limit myself here only to the nevertheless very annoying topic, hair with women. But of course, I will not give any advice, tip or instruction now from a feminist perspective, what is finally a total solution. Yeah, and by the way, why are naked cats considered to be ugly? Yeah, we have to talk about beauty norms because they restrict us all, says Margarete Stokowski, and I think she's right. Even if we should not let ourselves be seduced by the distraction from the actual core of feminism, namely power and autonomy. Margarete says, and there I am completely with her, we do not have to call it feminism if you want, but we could also say it's somehow about sex and power and all that stuff. Margarete Stokowski says, yeah, it's about self-determination, because feminism is not a movement that wants to replace old constraints with new ones, or old taboos by new ones. It is a struggle against compulsions and for more free and own decisions. And not the decision forwards or backwards, but the decision, what kind of person do you want to be? And this sounds a lot. And yes, I think that is quite a lot. Yeah, our most important insights so far is cats are funny. And that is incredibly important because they are considered as a positive, happy acceleration, distraction to life, and thus ensure that we remain capable of action in life. So if memes are currently micro manifestos, and at the same time, this whole cat thing is associated with women, girls, or in German we say Flinterpersonen, like lesbians, trans, inter, or agender persons, it is clear again what works and has achieved people with cats and women. And that's wonderful. It unites some things that can and may objectively be regarded as super and awesome and has to be, like fluffiness, cuteness, humor, wisdom, intellect, pop culture, and the urge to analyze something, but to find other forms of expression, more subtle, which we experience on our emotional and humorous level, for example. But of course, I would like to formulate this a little more academically and leave the last word on this to Samira Yildirim. She's an art historian from Munich. And she asks herself what role art can play in a political and public discussion about state borders. And she concludes that the strength of artworks or artistic strategies lies in the demand for power in the form of a visual or artistic strategies lies in demand for power in the form of a visual language that allows other information to circulate. So manifesto is a strategy in art to develop a language of critique to current political conditions. These images take part in the discourse and inscribe themselves in our memory. And these particular actions, however small they may be, even if they are only at social media or any Facebook profile, they make current events seem aesthetic, funny, and playful. And according to Yildirim, this is nothing less than resistance on a small scale, on a visual level, which means a lot for internet-based dependent communication in today's world. And before we will, I will end this lecture. Let me wrap up this lecture showing you some feminist cats. And here, cats working towards the destruction of patriarchy, which could inspire us. So here we see this cat doesn't give a damn about body shamers. And this cat believes that the expression walk of shame stigmatizes the sexuality of women. This cat protests against the portrayal of women in mainstream media by shredding newspaper into 1,000 small pieces. This cat is always on the lookout for sexist microaggressions. This cat doesn't take shit from any man or from any other cat. And I have to say that orange cats are considered mostly male cats. Yeah, this cat resists the male spreaders. This cat doesn't give a shit to look ladylike. This cat knows that wearing a pink necklace makes her no less a feminist. These cats enjoy their weekly feminist book club meeting. This cat uses performing dance to question limited definitions of gender. This cat has just heard a sexist joke and is about to explain to his friends that what they perceive as innocent banter is actually oppressive to women. This cat shares responsibility for raising children equally with their partner. This cat will take man after man to the top of her career. This cat will not endure a second more of mansplaining. This cat gives a lecture on intersectionality. This cat has just torn up some, that cat who did this understands that the fall of capitalism will advance women. This cat wants to know why she is paid less than the cat on the street to do exactly the same job. This cat thinks that your sociology work needs some revisions because it doesn't take gender-specific structures into account. And these cats, I think they are ready for revolution. And so, thank you very much.
Thank you, Julia. Wait, I'm just like